Hey guys, welcome to the Good Cop After Show here at Afterbuzz TV. We have a lot to get through tonight. We're going to break down the series for you, talk about some of your favorite characters, and we got a special segment later with some of your favorite Tony moments. A lot to get through. This is your Good Cop After Show right now.
You're tuned in to Afterbuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, welcome to the Good Cop After Show here at Afterbuzz TV. We are so excited to be here tonight. It was a hell of a season, 10 episodes of good and bad cop at times, but we will get through that and more. Guys, I am Kevin Ellis, your host tonight. I'm so excited to be joined by two lovely ladies who I'm hosting with for the first time. Yasmine, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Yasmine Tanres.
And hello, I'm Angele Taylor.
Guys, is this your first AfterBuzz TV
Yeah,
after show?
absolutely.
Look at both of us in blue as well, and we didn't even plan it.
I know.
No, you didn't.
I felt weird because I typically wear blue to the show. I'm wearing
But
black
we are
tonight.
talking about cops, so it's only appropriate.
Exactly. We even have a blue background.
Shades
Very
of blue.
fitting.
Yes.
Oh, guys, it was a hell of a season. I mean, from the beginning, I was enthralled with the series. I know that there were moments where I was wanting more, but for you two, what were some of your highlights and just overall thoughts of the show?
Generally, I felt there was some real laugh-out moments. I was sitting there in my bed, and probably my flatmate was like, whoa, why is she laughing all of a sudden so hard? And it was definitely lighthearted and just so easy to follow, so I really enjoyed that.
That's great.
One of my ultimate laugh out loud moments was when Big Tony had his fake marriage at the bar. That was so epic. It seemed like it'd be a great idea, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, that's so Big Tony.
It did. It felt so much like his character. I just felt like there was so much oddness to it, but people were walking around in the background, and you're wondering what this is just in the middle of the day, no rhyme or reason. He's literally doing this just to be able to get his now wife into the Four Seasons Hotel presidential suite.
Oh my gosh! And then he lives at the bar, so it's only appropriate that he got married
It's at the bar, yes.
Yeah, only appropriate, guys. I mean, it was just one of those series where I felt that the characters really drove it. I mean, it was a procedural cop dramedy, but what did you think of Josh Groban's character, Little Tony, as the lead?
I don't even know if I could call him the lead, because Big Tony has just so much.
Such a presence.
Yeah. But also Cora and Little Tony, I mean, he's a very proper man throughout. And I thought acting-wise for Josh Groban, there wasn't much of diversity there.
Right.
But in the opposite to how his true character and nature is, he's very bubbly. If you watch him on his Instagram stories and on the Good Cop Fan, they have some stories as well from in the making, and he's so loud and out there versus his character on the show. It's so reserved.
Yeah, I felt like he really was subdued, and he was trying to hold back so much. And I know it was a definite character decision how the character was written, but at times I almost wanted him to break out. I think the few moments that he did break out were the episode 4, the bowling episode, where he just got so into himself, and that's what I loved about that character.
That was his time to shine, though. He really shined on that episode. I was proud of him. He was more his character was more body language. His faces he made and those little just everything, how he reacted to everyone was all facial. And I was really into his facial expression.
And some dark sarcasm, I would say, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Very sarcastic.
Definite sarcasm. I mean, especially one of the drawn out moments of his character where you were just kind of questioning, okay, this is intense, subdued by the book, is when the quarter fell at the bowling alley, and he's trying to find whose quarter it was.
That was ridiculous.
That was annoying, and it took too long. It was so drawn out.
Yes.
And I was
I was so proud of Cora of just being right, it's mine.
It's mine. And then even that wasn't good enough. No.
But Big Tony stole so many scenes. He had so much energy, and Tony Danza really just brought himself to the role. What was your impression? How did he rate in your favorite characters in this series?
I mean, I like the fact that there was a moment of him actually performing. That's something that I wish, for instance, Josh Groban, they would have given him a part, but then it didn't really fit to his character as well.
No.
Because he's somebody as a character that's tone deaf, probably.
Probably.
But who knows? Maybe he could bust out some moves.
Well, remember, he wasn't good at anything, right?
Besides bowling.
Yeah, being a good cop.
Like, that was another point. I just remembered this when he was skiing and then he had to do the pizza slide.
So good.
Pizza legs.
At that point, I actually
no,
wish...
that was so funny.
Yeah, well, but I really wish that they would have made him be good at something other than just being a cop.
I think you're right.
And so Tony, I mean, he's a rogue ex-cop, so genuinely has probably a lot of skills and maneuvering.
Sure.
But TJ was the voice of reason for this series. Like, he was the one that figured out most of the cases. He connected the dots. Everyone else just played naive. He was the one that actually kept the ball moving on these
Besides
shows.
when he was rolling the ball.
Yeah.
That was the only time that it wasn't.
No pun intended. But that was good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Tony, he was hilarious. He had some real laugh out loud moments. Like the first episode, him standing in his pants after losing a bet of a snooker table. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds like a real fun game to play, right? Like,
Yeah.
One of those things
walking around in your pants in the bar. Brilliant.
And Big Tony, he rated #1 as far as my favorite character goes.
Okay.
He was my favorite. He was like, oh my gosh, I had such great moments on the couch with just everything he said. Everything he said, I was waiting for it. Because he just like, and it's very like unassuming humor, just like the way he says it.
Mm-hmm. He just feels like the fun uncle that you'd love to have at the holidays. He would always have a story, and he would just be like you were just catching up. Like he's been there every single day for the past year. It's like you just knew him.
Absolutely.
Well, it's like especially highlighted in the second episode, I feel, with the model, and where he says oh, well, she's not exactly a civilian, so she can come to the crime scene. It's just
It was a very interesting episode. We were talking a little bit before the show how I was it wasn't my favorite episode, but you two really liked this one.
yeah.
I did like it. It was memorable because the fact that they did the whole Victoria's Secret model and she's really into Big Tony is like, come on now. The naivete is just real in this episode. Like, come on.
Right. I felt like it was one of those episodes where I thought it was almost so far-fetched that she was so into Tony, and Tony was so blasé about even thinking that this was unrealistic or questioning why this is even happening. I mean, this guy is a very intelligent police officer who'd been through the ringer, who was a con man himself.
Right.
So it's weird for a con man to get conned as hard as he was.
But it just proves his kind of cute ridiculousness, you know?
Yeah.
It's just part of him.
Yeah, it was
and
cute.
to me, that should have almost been the first episode in some sense, just because you really get a feel of his character versus the son's character. And obviously, the beautiful lady, it helps as well.
But did you notice how TJ is always against love? Like when his dad was pursuing the model, no, that's ridiculous. That's not happening. And then when Cora in like episode 8, when she was getting married, no, that's not real. Like, I mean, even though he had a reason, he just, I don't know. It just seemed like he was anti-love.
Well, isn't he deemed as infraction? What was that word that kept on coming up?
Yeah, I think it was. It was infraction.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that was the word.
So it's almost like he's blocking it,
He
the
doesn't want
emotional
anybody
part.
to be happy.
Yeah, but then at the
even in
same
their-
time, I think he's mom's issues.
I think
Thinking about that now.
You're onto
Okay.
something there.
Yeah.
And that
You
showed
just
in
made
the
me
last
think about that.
Oh, but he was for his dad's love of the ugly German lady. That turned out to be a
was
man.
hilarious.
That turned out to be a man.
All relationships
all
to him to be in.
Exactly.
The German lady
He
in
was
the
for
basement.
it. He was all for it. He's like, you know what? I'm really happy you're here. You make my dad so happy. You know,
And it
was
feels
just
good
like,
to have a woman here. He did actually say that.
He did
That was
say that.
very endearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And it was probably one of the funnier moments in the series for me is when he has his glasses down and his dad just totally steals them so he couldn't actually see him.
Yes.
So,
And
so
then when
brilliant.
Tony gets out of the basement in his pants again, like we love Tony, big Tony in his pants with a bottle of wine, and that's what made Junior think, oh, there's something going on.
He still has a great pair of legs too.
True, like
I mean,
give
he's
it to
67
him. Yeah.
now.
Wow.
Tony
I mean,
Danza
Tony's
got a
looking
great
great for his
body,
age.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot. He's got so much personality, so much to exude. I mean, a perfect casting for this. And they're like,
Yes.
I don't know. I was telling them beforehand, I'm like, I feel like that they just wanted to name the guy Tony just because he's acting
He's
like
a
himself. He's just Tony Danza.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he played a
Complete
great role.
Italiano.
But this is a cop dramedy. And so what did you think of the procedural element, the different cases throughout? I mean, did you like the way that it started? I know that you thought that the second episode could have been the first episode, but the idea of possibly framing Tony Jr. as the potential murderer in the first episode, I thought that was very clever.
Yes.
The way they did it was clever.
Yes.
How they like put him at the gun range with his own gun and then put the already dead guy behind the wall. So, and then just how
he
genius
essentially
he was
shot
to
him.
remember his cluster because it was a constellation. He shot the bullet holes as a constellation cluster.
Right.
That was genius.
Showed his intelligence too as a character, and that's what really made you realize, okay,
Right. That's what
this
kept me
character's
tuned in.
He's
I was
on
like,
it.
okay, that was pretty clever. I
Yeah.
want to know more tricks. Not that I'm plotting or anything. More
that
tricks
was really
on
smart,
how to
yeah.
get away with murder.
Oh yeah. I mean, I felt like actually you're right. The first episode was pretty intriguing because I mean it set the tone in a correct manner that when the guy was found dead in the park, the tune, the music in the background was funny. It was
Quirky.
sort of light. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
very quirky.
interesting. So it was just almost like, well, isn't this supposed to be serious, like in Law and Order or NCSI,
Yeah.
you know? And
Couldn't take it
but
serious
no,
from the
no,
jump.
because then you see as it unfolds how the crime was committed, and it was very cleverly written and done.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And even the second episode, you two really liked how this played some, like, a real world way of, like, the
fun.
butt dialing. It was just kind of...
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That was, yeah. I was telling them before the show, I actually lost a friendship because of butt dialing. So that is very real.
random.
Butt dialing is real.
It's a real
Like,
But
it's
I
a
thought that's
real
why they
thing.
invented touch, so that that doesn't happen. Like I feel like that happens more with buttons than with touch.
Yeah, just don't wear a skirt that day.
Okay.
They might feel a little skin.
Good tip then.
exactly. But
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to go back to your question of like the unfolding of the different episodes. I think it was great that for this type of Netflix show, it didn't necessarily have to connect to the previous one each episode. So it's something definitely really easy to follow and just watch like on the side and for fun and with the
Yeah.
family.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different because I don't recall any Netflix show that I can think of where it is procedural in that sense, where you can just watch, you know, a random episode and tune in and know exactly,
What's
okay,
going
these
on.
characters have this relationship. Though in the first episode, I did like the fact that they actually showed a father-son. They really built a father-son relationship between
They
the two.
did,
You
yes.
showed that, okay, despite the fact that you know, you have a crooked cop that went to prison for almost a decade, still have a really decent relationship with his son, who now has to live with him because
Roomies.
because he's got a
that's
parole
weird.
officer. It was very
Fixing
bizarre.
breakfast in the kitchen
Yeah.
for
That would drive me
Daddy.
insane, but they made it work.
Yeah, and there was no animosity between the two characters, which was interesting. There was never like a true disagreement, argument between the two. I mean, Tony Jr. is very even-keeled, but did you find that interesting that there was very little conflict between those two characters? Because I
That's
thought that
true.
was a very interesting thing.
They were most of the time on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to who committed the murder. One would think, oh, no, they did it. And the other one's trying to prove, no, they did it. So there was a little bit of difference there, but it wasn't something I would take seriously because you just can't take Big Tony seriously.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to see two people with two very different moral codes not really
bump heads.
Yeah.
And it's almost like who's policing versus who's fathering. Because I felt like there was some cross between the two sometimes, where Big Tony most of the time would be more like the kid, like he's such a rogue person. But then there were moments of him really stepping up as a dad, and moments of Tony Jr.
Which part did he step up as a dad? I want to know this.
Maybe the time he tried to help his son getting a little more confidence by cheating at bowling.
Yeah,
he stepped it up.
Maybe
that,
big time. Or maybe
for the
even
pension plan, right?
The trial, like the big trial where he was meant to go.
Because he was gonna take one for his son.
Yes,
that was the first episode where he actually confessed to the murder.
No, I'm referring to the one where Tony agrees to testify against an ex-prison cellmate.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And he wasn't going to do it.
No.
Based because he just wanted to be in a swanky hotel, as Big Tony wants to do, and gets married for it, for the sake of it, to be there with a woman. But then in the end,
his girlfriend he would take her on a vacation. So it's only right that he took her to the Four Seasons.
So
at the expense of NYPD.
The government, perfect plan.
Taxpayers.
But see, in the end, he did confess, and that's what I want to say, that was a moment where he stepped up as a father to do the right thing.
That's true.
Well, after being almost, I don't know, he was forced.
Guilted a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, he was kind of forced by, TJ, like, Dad, I thought you were, like, a good person.
Well, on top of that, there was also that, it was, a neighbor, the informant that was trying to let him know that he was going to be knocked off. That was a neighbor growing up, and he got him his first job. Big Tony got the kid, his first job. So I think that
he ended up dying.
Yeah, he realized
just to
that,
save his life.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
A life for a life, do what you can. Make sure that it's an honorable death. Yeah. So it was an honorable move. He realized his fault, and he came through in the end. So every character has their flaws, and I think he redeemed himself at the end.
I think that was the only redemption that he had there.
Probably.
Series.
Cora in the marriage episode 8.
Actually,
that was big.
that was pretty major.
That was huge.
I would have been genuinely though, if I was in his position, I don't know if I would have stayed with Cora, because there was police around there that obviously not as close to her, but that's a big deal to go after the man that's killed your wife.
Yeah.
To lose out on that.
You are, definitely, you're swallowing a huge pill that you just have been holding on to for decades, and this is what you're choosing. I mean, that's a big honorable move to defend Cora in that instance.
It was honorable. One of the things you brought up about TJ and Big Tony not bumping heads. Big Tony is so charismatic. Like, can you imagine someone getting into it with him? He can talk his way out of anything.
You really can. I mean, I think the one moment where you saw a little bit of vulnerability to him was the episode where Bob Saget was the guest star as the television host.
I know, and he embarrassed him.
Just made a fool of him.
Oh my God,
it was so sad.
But it was totally worth it. He was on TV. He did the tap dancing and the singing. We got a glimpse of that, his performance. So I thought that was a brilliant episode.
It was.
That was so smart.
I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed seeing Bob Saget in that role, because he's a very raunchy comedian.
I have not seen him in such a long time. That was refreshing to see. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really cool to see him in that role. But I want to go back to episode 4. The bowling episode was my favorite episode. And I know beforehand we talked about the ridiculousness of the technology.
Oh my God.
But Ryan's character was so great.
I love him. Oh my God, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though
was
he has
hilarious.
some more of a minor role, he's kind of like that puppy that everybody cares about, but only goes to when you need him.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like, I love puppies, but I'm not obsessed with them.
He was a very genius puppy.
Yeah.
Because who would have thought of that? And then at that capacity, to go from the small ball that he was, because I guess it was a prototype that he was messing around with. Like, to go from that small ball to a huge bowling ball, being able to manipulate. But I don't know. I wasn't buying it.
You weren't buying the technology.
I wasn't buying it.
I mean, the way
Or
that
was
it
it the
just rolled,
execution?
It was the execution, the fluidity of the ball. It just wasn't landing for me. I was like, no, balls don't move like that, okay?
And everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, you would think that there would have been some questioning by like the rules committee at some point in time before they even got to the final, but
Before the
But
ball
that's all
actually
part
reversed.
of the fun and the ridiculousness, right?
It was fun.
And especially because Big Tony was using then his son in the end for a grander pension scheme.
Yeah.
I mean, he totally was starting to buy into the idea of Little Tony. I want to say Big Tony, Little Tony. I don't know if that's appropriate.
we can just
Going
for now.
pro.
We're
Tony
doing it.
Jr. And him wanting to leave the police force to become a professional bowling player. Yes, I agree with you. It is the best episode because it's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. I felt like people were coming out of their shell. You were seeing TJ just. He was just getting so cocky and just so
He
into
was.
it. And it
Oh,
was
he
so
made
great.
me mad.
Yeah, just leaving his cop profession to go bowling. It was just so brilliant. And then you're seeing Big Tony, his whole plot unraveling as it gets deeper and deeper into the scheme, and he's realizing, okay, now I've got this son who's got this big head now. I don't know how to destroy his ego.
Big as his ball.
Oh my God. He created that monster. But
did.
no, my favorite quote of the entire show right there was, my back is hurting from carrying all of you.
Oh,
That was the worst.
I said, oh my God, I'm going to use that. My back is hurting from carrying you guys on this team. What is going on?
I was like, no, you did not.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So good. Because that's how
just-
you would expect his character to be if he was just that into
That good.
himself.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Oh, it made that was the best episode.
If it was coming from a real place, but because we know it was phony baloney, I was so disgusted by who he morphed into that quickly.
Yeah.
Like over 3 weeks, you can go from good, sweet little angel to
It's that ego.
oh my God.
As soon as he gets so good at something,
Yeah.
it's that ego.
Yeah, he was a beast.
He needed to come back to humbleness.
Humble pie.
I mean, all these episodes were really good. And we got to the ski lift episode, and it was a little bit different because it took us out of New York. It was a little bit different of a scene.
Yes.
What did you think of that episode?
I was rooting for what was the girl's name?
Macy.
Macy. I was
You
rooting
were?
for her. I wanted him
was
to be happy with. I knew it was too good to be true. It was kind of like Big Tony and the supermodel, the Victoria's Secret model.
True.
But at the same time, I wanted that to work so badly. I am so into these underdog. I'm such a chick flick watcher that I wanted that to work just for TJ's sake.
It's true. Like, genuinely, it was nice to see him having an intimate moment with a woman that he was interested in. And he was really trying hard. It was so sweet how he wanted to get her a lawyer and everything, and went against the entire police force at this convention.
Yeah.
Speaking of the entire police force, what Tony did to bribe himself into this panel, brilliant.
Bribing the police force. Oh, okay. That's something unheard.
To get himself onto an ethics panel, to just like that.
Yes.
That was one of the best moments in the series, in my
Yes,
opinion, too.
yes.
It was so hilarious, so brilliant. I mean,
The
writing
irony
was
of
great.
it all, the irony was like phenomenal right there. Ethics panel and a bribe.
And it's one of the few times that we saw Tony Jr. actually go through with one of his dad's like ideas, plots, and like be okay, like laugh at
And
the
be
irony
okay
of it.
it.
Yeah.
It was very rare.
Not initially, but he was like, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
He's kind of like, I'll let this infraction go.
entertain
And the father was the one who pointed out the woman, Macy, like, hey. And then he went for it. Like, the entire thing was based off of his ideas.
Yeah.
I loved the ending of that episode when Tony Jr. is like on top of Macy, actually trying to detain her, saying, she's the one! And he's
Yes.
like, God, yes, my son.
He said,
Tony's getting out, he's like fixing the door. He's like, oh yeah, go. And
oh my God. It's
So
like,
good.
Tie on
son,
the door.
didn't I tell you to put the tie on the door next time? Hands
That
the tie
was
on
it.
the door. Like, no, TJ still isn't getting any.
Can you imagine the entire city of New York putting a tie on the door whenever something like that happens?
Man.
Be a lot of
If
ties.
people learn that from him, the lessons that you must have learned from like Big Tony in this show.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant
yeah.
ideas.
World changing.
Yeah, I wish he was my dad.
He is a hell of a character. And we had characters like Cora. I mean, we love Cora.
I adore
Cora was
her.
amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one of her most interesting and character developments was episode 8 when she just falls for this guy. I mean,
Did you
weeks.
see him? I would have fell for him
Oh
too.
my
That was a
Great
beautiful
actor,
man.
too.
Yeah.
Oh
Great
my
actor.
gosh.
Oh, yeah.
He was gorgeous.
I was like, finally.
I'm not going to speak to that. I'll leave that in your purview. But
Finally some Candyman.
Oh my gosh.
And she rightfully
then
got
me,
him.
I'm such a mush. I wanted that to work too.
Yeah.
but
yeah.
you just knew.
She
You
was
just
so
knew from the
happy.
beginning. I don't know. That was probably one of the few episodes where it was like immediately at the beginning, I'm like, okay, this guy's going to
knew?
end up,
There's
this guy's
something.
going to end up being this.
But this episode, I felt like also was the only one in the entire series that dismantled a character's background in a sense, because then she goes to seek out this genealogist to find out like if she has any family and this uncle and everything.
I thought that was so funny because my sister's birthday was this past Saturday.
Okay.
And typically I would get her something frou-frou, like clothing, jewelry, something beauty related. This time I got her one of those Ancestry.com memberships,
Okay.
and I have a kit sent to her house. So
Nice.
she's in Vegas, but when she gets back, she'll see her genealogy kit right there. And I was like, oh, that's kind of what I just did. That was so neat.
Let's hope
Yes.
she's not watching. We didn't just ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
let's hope
it
she's
was
enjoying
kind
Vegas.
of-
Oh,
No.
wait, she hasn't seen it. She doesn't know.
No, so it
Oh,
was
'cause she's
kind of
away
a
now.
selfish endeavor as well, because if I know
You're
her,
learning.
then I'll know mine. So same mom, same dad, so same story.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So it works.
Well, it was a really wild, like, there was a weird, like, love triangle, love square even going on between these characters, because you had...
Which one?
Well, in the episode where Cora gets married, because you have
Oh.
TJ still kind of fighting for her affection in some way, you
He
see.
was.
Yeah, and then you also
was a little
have the
pitiful.
genealogist who's now in with I don't know the character's
That
name.
took me by surprise, though. I was genuinely like, oh, he's seeing her, and this is how it's unfolding.
She was way
I-
older than him, too.
Oh God, yeah, and the way he was adoring her, I was like, "No, Cora is great. Like, what are you doing? Why don't you just
know.
marry and stay
Line
with her, and
her
you'd
up
get the
next to
30
Cora,
million?
right?
Like, why do you need to marry this woman who's like nobody?" And I just,
No offense!
Sorry.
No offense at all! Just,
don't do
we love
that.
Cora!
Yes.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. She's so badass. And I honestly felt like all hope was lost because they did get married, and the woman was like, she kept Tony Jr. in that sauna, but then I thought it was brilliant with the straws. Like,
That was good.
yeah, because in the beginning of the episode, I was like, wait, why are they talking about straws that bars no longer supply and
It
he carries it?
saved his
That's so
life.
random. And
It saved
obviously
his
it's
life.
part of it, and it saved his life. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well written.
It did. Well, and that was a really, as we mentioned before, a really good, heartfelt ending to that episode. And then we move on over to Why Kill a Busboy, which was a very different episode, but I thought one of the more, like, original ideas to the series. I thought that was a really cool crime element to
Yeah.
it. Because it was, you throw a wiretap into a microphone,
Yeah.
and you're spying on all these hedge fund managers to try and get insider trading
That was
deals. Like, that was really
brilliant.
cool.
That was
Yeah, I
brilliant.
felt like that was the first and only episode where I really didn't know who it would have been.
Agreed.
Because in the episode we just talked about now, you kind of had the feeling, oh, it is the guy that Cora's going to marry that did it. But in this one, no idea. Didn't see it coming.
I knew when the scandalous guy walked in with from the other restaurant and he offered to buy that one.
That was the
knew.
moment where you're kind of like, okay.
I knew. And
Why?
then
From that moment. But
Right.
it came fairly late in comparison to
That
other
is true.
episodes
That
where you
is
kind of
true.
knew sort of semi-beginning.
It was definitely
Yeah.
in like the last last quarter of the episode where you're
Yeah.
just kind of like, okay, this kind of came out of nowhere.
okay, I'll
Yeah,
give you
but
that.
no, you're right. But that was the moment.
Like that was exactly the moment. I just felt this episode was so beyond ridiculous though because of Big Tony wanting to take over the restaurant. Like, what kind of a business idea is that?
And not
next
knowing what
move.
the hell he was doing. He had no clue.
I had a question. So not the busboy, but the other guy, Perfiore,
Yes.
with the same name. What did he have to do with this?
Nothing. It was just
To throw them off.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, Dolores the dog. Okay, what does this have to do with anything? It threw me completely off.
It was confusing, though. I'll give you that.
There was a lot going on in that episode. I felt like there were a lot
More
of like
than
loops that
the
were being
other
thrown,
one.
and
Right.
there were so many like they were trying to throw us off. I felt the entire episode, and it only came
worked.
to light. Yeah, it worked. It
Yeah,
worked.
it really
I felt like
did.
that was one of the few times that they really kind of throw us off.
Yeah.
I really felt sorry for Tony Jr. again, having to like put everything. This time he really did have to carry the team, as in his dad in the restaurant.
I know.
Literally, yeah. Very, very bizarre. And we ended up getting to the final episode, the season finale, where we had a lot of character arc development with both Big Tony and Tony Jr., where we really saw both Tony's past come into light with Tony Jr.'s mother and Tony Sr.'s wife. That was what did you think about them ending the season like that?
Wow. I'll let you go first on that one.
Okay, so one point there, I thought there were some really funny moments by the fact that Tony Jr. and Cora had to act as a married couple.
Yeah.
And it worked, obviously,
It
because
worked!
there's so much banter between them. There's always
Yes.
been banter between them throughout the
Yes.
entire series.
The bed scene was just so the Cyrano de Bergerac, like
It was so weird, and it was just so corny. It was so TJ, though. It was so TJ.
My favorite quote was in that part, though. Like,
Which
this is when Cora says, "My husband suffers from reptile dysfunction," because the snake is like, and he's like, "Cora, I have a snake in my pants." It's like, yeah. The acting though was phenomenal. Granted to him as well, having a like snake go up his pants and everything. That's so deadly.
I can't even imagine. I can't even stand like when a fly lands on me and starts walking. I just can't. Oh my god.
Let alone that snake. But the way that they ended the episode, I mean, that's very open as any series should be.
Yeah,
it is very
I was like, is the
confusing.
mom still alive? Is she still alive? Like, are they picking at that?
yeah, I felt like that the ending was so much more dramatic than I thought the series was as a whole. It was very off kilter. I just thought that it ended very dark, and it felt like the series as a whole wasn't always that, and so it threw me off. I thought, okay, we're really leaving a cliffhanger that's a total 180 from where we've been throughout this entire season. So I thought that was interesting, but in the way that TJ was able to fend off the perpetrator at the end, the murderer, from killing his final victim by using a little bit of his past as a means of relating to him. We both had mothers that passed away. I thought that was heartfelt. I thought that was a really good, roundabout way of getting back to that as a theme.
That's a really good intersection, actually. You're right. Having sort of bigger Tony going after his wife's killer, and then little Tony Jr. talking about his mom
Solving
to
the
deter
case
another killer. Yeah.
And both taking their own approaches to it. TJ taking a more heartfelt, giving approach, very similar to his character, while you have somebody like Big Tony who's going off of more like a revengeful, aggressive, type of way of coping with that loss. It was very well written in that regard, in my opinion.
My stomach dropped because I really thought Big Tony went down when they were demolishing the building. I thought he was in the building. I was like, this is the worst way to end this season. Like, I didn't want it. I didn't want it at all. And then when I saw him, it was just like, okay, now I can.
Inside.
I'm okay now.
Turn your draw, right? Yeah.
Well, that would have been an interesting cliffhanger to not know whether or not he survived.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but
I'm
that
glad they
countdown
didn't
was-
do that to me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I feel like they did that to me too much in The Walking Dead. I can't have another show do that to me.
Two very different series, mind you.
Too much.
Well, we got through all of the episodes. We do want to get to our special segment right now. We've got some of our favorite big Tony quotes. Yasmine, you've got most of them.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
More like, okay, we've already talked about some
We
of the
have
quotes
talked
and then some of his best moments, but like particularly in the first episode and again in the third episode with the German lady when he's in his pants, and in the second episode when he says the swimsuit issue exemption. Sorry, I can't even pronounce it. And she's not exactly a civilian, which is true. Like no Victoria's Secret model is a civilian. Seriously, where did they come from? And I loved again in the bowling scene when he gets distracted by the whole pension scheme so that he pushes Tony Jr. into becoming a professional
So good.
Yeah.
bowler.
That will never get old. I might rewatch that episode sometime.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I think you should.
Yeah.
How to exploit your
that
son.
episode. I can see it.
Just so you can get over it. Watch it again.
And then I guess, when he bribes the police panel and his cat obsession, which we thought was a cat obsession, but truthfully it was to dig out the wife's murder. I thought those were his best moments. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the pension, obviously, that whole bowling thing, you already know that I like that, that bit. I thought that him being so impulsive to actually, and guilted into actually marrying his girlfriend in order to actually get the presidential suite at the Four Seasons.
That was
as
my
his honeymoon.
That was my
Ridiculous.
favorite. That was my favorite.
Yeah, but he was just so he had so many funny lines insisting that he had to smoke his stogies in the presidential suite and in watching the bass show it was just so many of these weird character quirks that were being introduced on him. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about him in that episode.
Yes. I loved how Big Tony always took credit when they found it out at the end. He always took credit, I've been knowing all along. Or he'll just even though he's fighting with TJ the whole time about, no, I think it's this person. No, it can't be that person. And then at the end when TJ's right, he's yeah, I knew it all along. It's just okay.
Yeah.
So he is so narcissistic. I love it though.
Yeah. He's fun.
It was a hell of a show, and the press has been, it's been pretty decent towards the show. I feel like it's gotten decent ratings. Some of the critiques have been more along the lines of sort of vanilla show, not a lot to offer. Again, the character arcs don't really move much. It's a procedural drama on Netflix. It's kind of a first for the for the streaming service. But as far as some of the social media and press, what did you find?
Should we start off with a positive or the negative?
We love to end on a positive note, so let me get the negative out of the way. So I am quoting directly from Variety.com. Quote, "It's hard to imagine anyone calling the show their favorite, so there's that." And then they said it was a show that was frustratingly little on its mind. So it didn't have a lot of character development, as you mentioned before. It wasn't very colorful in respect to highs and lows. And it's a familiar personality type. So TJ's character is very similar to the monk. So
which, as we want to let everybody know, Andy Breckman, he was actually the creator of both Monk and this show. So there were a lot of similarities,
sense.
Which you realized actually because you had watched Monk.
Yes. I drew so many parallels with the OCD and the ethics and morals, and he's just so straight-laced by the book that it's just okay, his unwavering personality is so it was frustrating because I think all of us have a little bit of bad, a little bit of good. So I like to show both of my sides.
Well, let's hear a little bit of the good.
Let's hear some good then of the bad. Okay, so this is from Malcolm Venable. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, from tvguide.com. I quote, "The Good Cop is a cop procedural that follows its own sort of formula, one that injects some warmth, some innocence, and breezy, goofy delight into this typically testosterone-filled space. Where's the crime in that?" I hear you. And then Lorraine Alley from Los Angeles Times says, "The Good Cop is a solid, traditional detective sitcom for viewers seeking the solace of a simpler time before cable and disruptive streaming services altered the landscape of weird shows like Stranger Things. And ironically, it's brought to you by Netflix." So I agree with that. I mean, that's why you're mentioning as well, like, it's very unusual for Netflix to have this kind of a procedural show.
Right.
And maybe it's to attract that kind of viewership away from the normal cable television that is coming onto streaming services.
Definitely. Yeah.
I love the fact that I was able to watch it with my kids in the same room.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, like I wasn't trying to like go in the next room. Mommy's busy. Like, no, like my kids were getting into it as well. So.
That's good.
I think that, what were your final thoughts as we kind of close out the show? I want to know the final thoughts, maybe some critiques that you had that you wanted to see more of on the show. And then finally, I want to get to a couple of predictions before we wrap up. So final thoughts and just simply what you would have liked to see more of on The Good Cop, if you have any.
Yes. Final thoughts. I mean, I'm like confused about the ending, obviously. Connie, wife, did she kill herself or did she plan her death? There was a moment where Bigger Tony had a memory with her and she was on the phone, obviously got a phone call from the doctor. So I'm kind of curious about that. And I think what I would have liked to have seen more is a deeper character and relationship development between father and son. And just to get more of a background story. And I feel like, yeah.
So what I would like to see going forward, aside from more character development, I want to see more of an emotional response from these characters that makes them more human, brings some more of the human elements. I also want to know what is going on between Cora and TJ. Is it sexual tension going on? Let's explore that. So I just want to see what develops from that bickering.
Interesting. God, and I think about some of the critiques that I have on the show. I think that overall, I wanted to see more of a character arc. I wanted to see more changes in Josh Groban's character. I thought TJ was really even keeled throughout the entire series, and we really only saw him kind of blossom in that fourth episode that I keep referring to because he was just so different, and he just brought out a different side of him that was, while we probably wouldn't revisit it at any other point in time in the show, I thought that just having a little bit of variance was important to me as a viewer, where I'm like, okay, this feels fresh, this feels different. He doesn't feel so bland and by the book to where it's annoying, if that makes sense. Yes. But overall, are there any predictions that you have for next season if we do?
I think Mommy is still alive.
Oh, there's our predictions.
Yes.
There's one.
That goes with the ghost music.
That was good, actually.
Mommy's
really
still
on
alive.
point. Really on point. So Mom is still alive. That's interesting because we found out in a very weird way that it was actually a hit on her rather than an accident.
Was it a hit?
It was a hit. Oh yeah. I mean,
Do we know that?
We have to rewatch.
Well,
this
I don't know though. I kind
Mm.
of feel like maybe she planned her death and left that money because there was something peculiar about the killer. He seemed too nice in the end, being like, "Here, take it."
No, no, because he said that he didn't do it. That he said he wasn't the murderer. So that's why
I think she murdered. Well, I don't know if she murdered herself.
It wasn't really a murder. I guess he was the one who driving the van. So he said he wasn't the one who did it, and that's why I think he was implying that okay, he might have ran her over, but there might have been a hit out on her that like there's something more to it. Somebody paid off this guy to kill her because that's what I think it was ransom money, or not ransom money. I'm sorry, just a hit money.
Oh,
that's what I thought.
I thought because she got that call from that doctor, and there was something there as if she was going to pass away soon. that she basically had planted that money and her death in order to make sure that the Caruzos are fine.
Okay, I just think that it was very peculiar to have like photographs taken like FBI cop show type thing, like from a vantage point. But
we'll just have to see.
Did we see the funeral though? Was there a funeral?
I don't know. I just want to say one thing. AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans. We need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. I mean, that is hopefully what we want. But by subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. And so let us know you did so in the comments, and we will thank you on air, which I guess is a little late, so I apologize. Thanks for being the best fans and helping keep us the ESPN of talk. We really do appreciate you watching this episode, and if you have watched other AfterBuzz shows, we thank you as well. Guys, it has been an awesome show. I'm so glad that we were able to share this. Guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheKevinEllis, because I am Kevin Ellis, ladies.
And you can find me on Instagram at Yasmine Tanres and Twitter at YasmineTP.
You can find me on Instagram at Angele Taylor _ Angele is spelled Angele.
Guys, it was an awesome after show. Thank you for joining us. We hope that there is another season of The Good Cop, don't we? So if there is a season 2, we will hopefully see you back. Guys, I'm Kevin Ellis. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye.
Ciao.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.